Jackson from ActionJacksonFitness.com. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the top 5 mistakes people make when trying to build big ass cover model chest. So if you want to build a big chest, if that's something that interests you, this video is something you want to pay attention to. We're going to talk about how to widen out the chest, how to build that sort of thickness within the chest, and then again, what mistakes people make when trying to do that, and how they sort of sabotage themselves and sabotage their gains. So if you want to build that Greek god physique, that sort of sculpted chest that you see in the movies, in the celebrities, Brad Pitt, that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first mistake I always see people make when trying to build that big chest is chicken winging the dumbbells on their presses. So if you're doing dumbbell chest presses, whether it's incline, decline, or flat, chicken winging is one mistake I see people make constantly. So let me show you what that is and then how to fix it. So what I mean by chicken winging the dumbbells is they kind of keep the dumbbells too close to their body and they end up getting them stuck underneath their armpits. It kind of looks like this. And they end up pressing the dumbbells in from here and pressing up. Now, there's a couple things wrong with that position. Number one, it's not a very strong position. This is not going to be a strong position to press anything. It's just not a good, strong position. The next thing is that it's not actually stretching our chest out at all. It ends up being a very tricep dominant movement because of the position of our arms. So if we want to logically lengthen our chest, which is the goal of any chest movement, right? Lengthen the muscle, shorten the muscle, we need to get those hands outward here in order to stretch that chest out. That's going to stretch our chest and get it in the lengthened position and then allow us to, again, bring it into the shortened position. So hands in here, not very strong position, doesn't stretch the chest out. So obviously the fix is very easy. All we need to do is transition those dumbbells out and get those dumbbells just on the outside of our shoulder. And this is going to apply whether you're doing a flat press or any level of incline press as well. So this is the fix, very simple. So the first thing you want to think about when you're lowering your dumbbells is think about spreading the dumbbells apart. Instead of thinking about pulling them straight down and going straight down and straight up, I want you to think about spreading them at the top and then widening them out as you bring them down. It's going to look like this. Notice the position just on the outside of my shoulders. I have a strong pull in my chest is getting widened, and then drive. The next mistake I see people make all the time, the number 2 mistake, is going to be focusing on flat barbell chest presses. The flat barbell bench is archaic. It's just not a great exercise in order to develop a strong chest. But it's just a staple in the gym, and most people don't know any better, so they jump on it and they just press their ass off thinking that they're going to get a big chest. Also, it's not great for the elbows or the shoulders. The flat barbell chest press, a lot of people get injured. Very easy to hurt your shoulder. I hurt my elbow doing flat barbell presses. It's just a very injury prone exercise. So focusing on dumbbells first and foremost is going to be much better, and focusing on incline. So if you want to build that big ass chest, if you want to really develop your pecs, you're going to want to focus on working your chest from the top down. So more focus on incline presses and then more focus on dumbbells, because the ability with the dumbbells to move your wrist, having that freedom, allows you to get your shoulder and your elbows in a much safer and a much better position in order to press. So again, number 2 mistake, cut out the flat barbell bench, switch to incline presses. If you want to do incline barbell presses, and then focus more on dumbbells over the barbells. The number 3 mistake people make when trying to develop that big ass chest is they turn the cable chest fly from a exercise widening out the chest into a cheat fly, where they just cheat their way through the fly. They use their full body to pull the stacks down, and they end up, again, chicken winging the exercise and sort of driving in from this poor position. So I'll show you what people do wrong, and then I'll show you how to do it correctly. So most people, when they're doing their cable chest flies, are gonna come down here, they're gonna pull these cables in nice and close to their body, they're gonna lean all the way forward. Even if they do the staggered stance, they're gonna lean forward like this, using their entire body weight to pull the stacks down, and they're gonna kind of do this in here. The whole goal of this exercise is to widen out the chest. This isn't widening out anything. As you can see, I'm never really lengthening my chest. I'm not getting my arms out wide enough in order to widen that chest out. So this movement here is not great for developing your chest. Instead, what you should do is stand a little bit more vertical. You can go into a staggered stance or a parallel stance, it doesn't matter, but you want to stand tall, more vertical. You want to get those hands away from the body out here. That's going to widen out the chest. So stand nice and tall, get the hands away from the body, and then focus on driving your elbows together and squeezing that chest. So it's going to look like this. So you just have to think about the goal of the exercise. The goal of the cable chest fly is to work the chest outward, to widen it in both directions. And again, you're not going to do that with your hands in here, and you're certainly not going to do that when you're using your entire body weight to bring the cables down. So stand tall, get those hands away from the body, and the further those hands are away from the body, the more leverage the cables are going to have against you, and then the more pull they're going to have outward, and the wider your chest is going to build. Other quick tip on cables, I see people make this mistake a lot, is they tend to walk the cables way out in order to start their flies. What I mean by that is they'll start here and they'll walk out really, really far. And then they'll go into their cable chest fly. That makes the exercise actually really easy, a lot easier. One thing you can do to make this more challenging and more effective would be to stand further back in the cables here. Due to the angle of the cable, it's going to have much more leverage against your chest. And now this front position here where I'm squeezing my elbows together is going to be much more difficult, much more challenging. And then if I want to do a drop set, I can certainly walk out as my chest begins to tire and the exercise gets more and more difficult. So instead of walking way out on your cable chest flies, try standing further in the stack. And again, in this position here, the cables, because of the angle, is going to be much more difficult, more challenging, and again, it's going to be more effective for building chest. The next mistake, number 4 mistake people make when trying to build that cover model chest is they focus too much on driving their hands together and moving the weight, whether it's a chest press and moving the weight up and pushing their hands together, or a cable fly and just driving their hands together. When you focus on driving your hands together, you end up getting a very shoulder dominant movement. So I'll show you here on the cable fly first. If I just focus on driving my hands together, I end up kind of hunching over, rolling my shoulders over, rounding my back a little bit, and then flexing my arms too much. Now from here, this ends up being a very shoulder dominant movement. Instead, if I change the intention of this exercise and the focus to squeezing my elbows together, and you can do this exercise here where you just put your hands straight out and you squeeze your elbows together, you'll feel that flexion in your chest, you feel that squeeze. That's what you want to go for when you're doing your cable chest flies. So develop that mind muscle connection and stop thinking about just moving the handles and driving your hands together, and start thinking about squeezing your elbows together. That's going to give you a much crazier pump on the chest. It's going to get, the exercise is just going to be much more effective. You're going to get a better pump and a better squeeze on your chest. And it's the same thing when you're doing the dumbbells. When you're doing dumbbell presses or even dumbbell flies, instead of just focusing on pressing the dumbbells up and pushing the hands together, focus on squeezing those elbows together. It's going to, again, increase the pump, and it's going to make the exercise that much more effective. So on this dumbbell fly, what I see people do a lot is they're going to push their hands together at the top instead of squeezing their elbows together. And again, that's going to make the exercise much more shoulder dominant. Also, when you think about it from a gravity perspective, when I have two dumbbells in my hands and I'm laying flat and my hands are together, there's no tension on my chest any longer. So another quick tip in order to make the dumbbell flies more effective is to keep those hands on the outside of the shoulders. That's going to keep gravity pulling those dumbbells down and out away from your body, and that's going to keep the tension on the chest. So I'll show you how to do it wrong, and I'll show you how to do it right. So pulling these hands together like this and driving those dumbbells together ends up making it more shoulder dominant and takes all the stress off your chest. Instead, keep those dumbbells spread apart, keep them on the outside of your shoulders, and gravity is going to pull these dumbbells out and away from your body, and that is going to be a much more effective exercise for building the chest. So again, just focus on that mind-muscle connection and squeezing those elbows together instead of just arbitrarily moving weight, whether it's moving the dumbbells up or moving the cables together. And the number 5 tip, the last tip for building that big chest, is going to be focus on tempo. So most people move way too fast when they're doing their exercises, all exercises, but especially chest, right? You almost turn the chest off as you drop those dumbbells down, and then you drive them up. Instead of doing that, you want to focus on moving with a slow controlled 3-0-1-0 tempo. So what does that mean? 3-0-1-0 means 3 seconds on the eccentric portion, that's the negative portion of the rep, a 0-second pause after that, 1 second on the concentric portion or the positive portion of the rep, and then a 0-second pause after that. So if we're doing a chest press, for example, it's going to be drive up 1 second, 0-second pause, and then 1, 2, 3 on the way down, 0-second pause at the bottom, and drive right back up. So again, focus on the eccentric portion. The reason we focus on the eccentric portion when we want to build muscle is because we're much stronger on the negative portion of the rep. If you've ever done negatives, you know that you can do a lot more weight on a negative than you can on the positive. So you're a lot stronger in that portion of the rep, and there's so much more, you can create so much more tension in that portion of the rep. When you're doing the positive, you're creating a lot of power, using a lot of strength to drive the weight up, and it happens really fast. But when you're doing the eccentric portion, we can get all that tension just pulling on those muscle fibers, and it's just ripping them apart, which is what we want. Remember, we break down muscle in the gym to have it repair and recover and build together outside of the gym, and that's how we build muscle. So I'll show you what most people do with a very, very fast tempo, and then I'll show you how to slow it up a little bit and make the exercise more effective. So watch, when I do this rep, I'm gonna sort of almost turn my muscles off as I lower the weights, and they're gonna drop with momentum into my chest, then I'm gonna drive them right back up. And this is what you see in the gym most of the time. Almost like, again, turning off of the muscles, then driving them up. So you never really get a whole lot of time under tension on the chest muscles, and time under tension is gonna be the key to developing a lot of muscle. Now, as you can see, I was exaggerating that a little bit, but that's what you end up seeing in the gym a lot. So as you can see, not very much time under tension. My muscles, again, turning off as the weights come down, and then I'm just driving up. So the only real tension I'm ever getting is actually on the positive portion, and it's not very much. Now, contrast that and compare it to using a 3-0-1-0 tempo, where we focus on the eccentric portion. It's gonna be completely different. It's gonna be a game changer if you're not doing this. Even better when you combine that with the mind-muscle connection and squeezing those elbows together, it's gonna be a much more effective exercise. All right, so to quickly recap, First mistake people make, chicken winging those dumbbells, bringing them too far in. Spread those hands out. That's gonna stretch the chest out. That's gonna put you in a stronger pressing position and keep those dumbbells on the outside of the shoulders to develop that width to the chest. Then, next mistake, stop doing flat barbell presses. If you want to do them occasionally, fine, but they are an exercise that puts the shoulder and the elbows under a lot of stress. They're also not a great chest builder because they just work on this mid portion of the chest. Instead, work your chest top down, focus more on incline presses over flat presses, and use more dumbbells over barbells. Next mistake, don't turn your chest flies into cheat flies. So don't use your whole body to lean over and pull the stack down, and don't chicken wing the fly either. Instead, move those hands out away from the body, stand nice and tall, and perform the exercise as intended, as something to widen out your chest, not something to just press from in a very weak position. Next mistake is elbows together. Focus on squeezing those elbows together and developing that mind-muscle connection with your chest instead of just pressing the weights together or pressing your hands together. When you focus on just moving the weights up and down, or you just focus on driving your hands together on a fly, you're gonna be getting a much more shoulder dominant exercise. So you end up building great front delts, but you end up sacrificing a lot of chest. So instead, get those shoulders back, get those out of the movement, and then focus on squeezing elbows together, again, developing mind-muscle connection. And the last mistake people make, too fast on their tempos. Don't just turn your muscles off on the way down and then drive up. Use that 3-0-1-0 tempo, slow and controlled on the way down. Count to yourself, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000 on the way down. Then drive up, again, focusing on squeezing the elbows and contracting that chest. And then nice and slow again on the way down. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. That's gonna dramatically increase your time under tension. Time under tension is gonna be absolutely key to building lots of muscle. You're gonna break down your muscles a lot more in the gym. They're gonna build back up out of the gym, and you're gonna build a much, much more developed chest. It's gonna be that kind of chest again, that cover model chest that you see guys on the cover of the magazines, those Greek god statues, celebrities. That's the type of chest I'm talking about. I'm Jackson, ActionJacksonFitness.com. Thanks for watching.